Rafi, Keyboard, how are you, brothers?
How about
We're
you? How are
good.
you
How's it
doing?
going?
Good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we could hear you now. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, same here.
You too. You too.
Yeah, all is well. All is well.
What have you been up to since the last time we spoke? Might have been last year.
Yeah, just been writing these books, um, working a ton. We just got off of a really long tour. We were in Japan for 11 days, Singapore for 2 days, Malaysia for 8 days, Australia for 8 days, Hawaii for 8 days, and then I came back home for about 16 hours, and then left for the book tour to promote this new book up in New England. And then I went out to California, and then I came home for another day, and then I went out to Vegas, and then I came home, and
Oh my
now I'm
God.
back.
How was the tour? How'd you like the Far East, the
Yeah,
Pacific?
it was cool. Yeah, it's all places we've been already, but it
Okay.
was still a ton of fun. We had a ball.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So tell us about your new book. What's it
Yes.
called? What's it about?
So it's called Make My Funk the P Funk, and it's a brand new book all about 1975 and how that was sort of the paradigm shift year for the band when they were already had been around for 20 years by that time, so they weren't new at that period, but that was really kind of the real kind of catalyst to propel them into superstardom, as it were. They released 3 albums in that year, and by the end of the year they go platinum, and it begins kind of the process of them having the $500,000 budget and landing the spaceship on stage. So I kind of said, to the publisher, the year starts with them in station wagons and it ends with them in spaceships. So it's kind of like a huge shift. And so I felt like that would be a good year to kind of focus on. The first book became a bestseller with the publishers. It actually
Amazing.
became Thank you. It actually became Roman and Littlefield's bestseller of all time,
Wow.
and they ended up getting bought out by Bloomsbury, which is a much bigger publisher
Yes.
based in the UK, and I think partially because they were doing so well, and a big part of that success came from my book. I'm happy to say. So they kept all the same people on. So I'm happy to say I'm still able to work with all of my same team of people that I worked with on the first book. Bloomsbury had the wherewithal, I think, to keep most, if not all, of their people from Roman, on the staff, so that they could work with the artists and the writers and things on the books that they had. So they were able to, just expand into like more distribution, which is better, and they did so well. They called a meeting, asked me to come out to dinner with them. They said, Danny, we want more books from you. I said, more books, like plural? They were like, yeah. And I hadn't really given it a ton of thought, writing a series of books or several books. It really hadn't occurred to me. And they gave me an idea of kind of what they wanted from me. And, they initially said, we want a book about the mothership. And I had kind of said, you know, that ideal, it's so iconographic that whenever you do a book about an icon specifically, you're leading yourself into all kinds of trouble with people's singularity of vision, people's
Right.
nostalgia. People,
Hindsight.
yeah, and it's very transcendent. The three of us could all have very different interpretations of, say, well, what any icon could mean, a cross, or the image of any kind, the Coca-Cola sign, or all of these things evoke very specific types of feelings, imagery, be it branding or imagery. So with that in mind, I said, it's much better left up to a philosopher than a historian or a musician. So
Of course.
so I said, why don't we do a book about 1975? And the publisher said, okay, well, what does that look like? I said, well, the mothership concept is born out of that year, but they released 3 really great albums that year, and you can't really understand the trajectory without seeing what they did as a group before that. So it delves really deeply into all three of the albums that were released that year: Chocolate City, Let's Take It to the Stage, and Mothership Connection. So all three of those make major strides for the band, where they're just going up, up, up. And I try to touch on political history, military history, technological history, social history, civil rights history, and everything that's going on in that year, and how it affects, it influences George's interpretations, on his albums, and everything from Watergate to the end of the Vietnam War, and a whole bunch of other like major events in sports and technology are all kind of influence George's ideals. And then I also argue that by the end of the year, it's his ideals that start influencing the outside world as well. So it's not going just one way. That eventually they become these sort of this cultural milieu that
An exchange.
yeah, exactly, that influences the world around it. So yeah, that's mostly what it's about.
And how was it? Because I know the first book was more factual, writing the information, and this was a bit more of a storytelling. How was it different for you?
The process, I guess.
Yeah. The process was very different for me. And you're right, Rafi. It's definitely a huge departure from the first book, being that the first book was very encyclopedic. So it was definitely a bona fide reference book. But what makes this book so special and so interesting is the fact that not only is it a narrative or more of a read, you can take this to the bed with you, read a chapter or a little bit of a chapter and go to sleep and kind of do that every day and really get this chronology, this narrative. But because I studied history in college, and that's what I have my degree in, and I took my colloquial, which is really becoming a master in writing about history, and so I took the colloquial when I was a senior, to become that bona fide historian, to the expertise in writing about history, citing sources, and writing in the Chicago style, which is like a very specific writing style for these type of books. They call these books usually monographs, is kind of the fancy word for it, but it's just history books that have all the footnotes, endnotes, all the information backed up, all legitimized with sources. Yeah, exactly. So it's what I really studied in school to do. So it's really cool that I'm able to flex those muscles again, and be able to work with the tools that I initially had, in my toolbox, but never really got a chance to stretch beyond
Right.
the
Yeah.
colloquial, the thesis, and my essays and things in college. So, but I always prided myself on being a pretty good writer of that type of form. The historical form, the pressing an argument, and backing it up with legitimation. So I was really interested in doing that kind of thing. But it's funny because I kind of thought, maybe my life will come and go without me writing a book of this type. But now it seems like I'm going to be writing several books of this type. So, yeah.
What was George's reaction to the book?
Oh yeah, he loves it. He loves it. And of course he was much like with the first book, one of the consistencies is that he was, instrumental in providing primary source information and sitting down and doing interviews with me. He would, we have a podcast together called the Bump by Bump Rundown. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Haven't had it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We'll check it out after this.
Yeah, check it out. There's like maybe 14 episodes. We've been doing it for a while, maybe even more. We've been doing it for a while, and it's like every episode we do a deep dive into a different one song. So it's like taking the first book and just putting a microscope to the first book every month with a different song, and he gives information about the process, what went down in the session, what influenced them to make the song, what kind of effect the song had on the world around it, and any kind of ripples and things like that. It's really cool. And in doing that, I have him stay after a little later And let's talk about 1975, George. Let's talk about this. So I got a whole bunch of interviews with him. And I'm also proud to say that I got interviews with a lot of the people who were involved in those albums, musicians and like behind the scenes people, technical and management people, about those specific albums, how they were created, including people that I didn't get to interview in the first book. So I have a lot of brand new primary source interviews that are specific to this book that really opened up and shed a lot of light. And I'm happy to say, every good history book um, discovers something. It opens up a new page that nobody knew before. And I'm happy to say that thanks to some of these primary source interviews, there is information that not only is being made available for the first time, but there's some information that's been sort of discovered for the first time. Like
Wow.
things that have either been forgotten or never fully understood are finally being kind of unraveled and figured out. So there's some really exciting stuff in the book.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to check out that the podcast.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will like it.
And so after this launch, after, the Mothership 1975 book, do you know where you'd be headed and in which direction you would be headed as far as your subsequent releases? Maybe you cover different periods within the band's history, or do you have an idea of where would you like to go for your next publications?
Yeah, that's actually exactly where they want me to go, Keyboard. They want me to do more of these, what you would consider like yearbooks, kind of, for lack of a better word, focusing on a different year in P-Funk history. And I actually have two more that I have sort of outlined that are
Okay.
ready to sort of start. And there are going to be two other very pivotal years in P-Funk history as well. But before that happens, I actually was approved for a third book by the publisher, and I have a December 15th deadline.
Oh,
So very soon. So
next
what
month.
I yeah, so when I got home off of this last big tour, I bought a new laptop because I got the one laptop for the studio. But I stand at my studio laptop, and this
Okay.
kind of work you can stand, but it'll knock you out of. And like I got my arm, like my studio computer, my arms are like way up here,
Oh, forget
so
it.
I need to be kind of like sitting with them a little bit lower so I don't get carpal tunnel or anything like that. So I got another laptop and started typing this project, this new book, last Wednesday, and I'm happy to say you're not going to believe this. So I told myself I'm going to knock out 16 to 20 pages a day. And in eight, I know it was kind of a big goal,
It's
but
ambitious.
the first couple of days I kind of met the goal. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make this a thing. And in 8 days, so by this last Thursday, I completed the book, 440 additional pages
Oh,
of writing. So I was doing like 5 to 7 hours of writing for but only 9 days. And it's really funny because, I make the joke, but it's really kind of true. The first book took me about 30 years to write. The second book took me about a year to write. And this third book took me about a week to write.
oh. So what's next? It's gonna take you a day to write.
Yeah, you're right.
Just keeps
But
getting smaller and smaller.
there's sort of a caveat to this third book, though. I'm not allowed to say too much about it, but we'll be talking about it soon, I'm sure, because
Sure.
it'll be coming out at the end of next year. And although it's not one of these year-specific books, it's another really big P-Funk book, and I have to say it's probably the biggest one in terms of scope that I've
I
ever
have an
done.
idea what it is.
I'm sure you know. You might know.
It's a biography.
No, that's a good. That's a good guess though. That's a very good guess. Yeah. No, it's not actually, but it's. I will say, it has a bigger scope than either of the other books I've written, which is really saying something.
It
So
is. It is.
yeah.
Whatever happened to the movie?
Which one? Which movie? George's movie?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still happening, as far as I
Okay.
know. It's still in production. I know that they were starting filming this year, I believe. So yeah, it's still everything is still ongoing with that. Although we're not directly involved.
Hmm.
They have written, they asked for some expert opinions from inside the camp early on in like the pre-production process. But I believe from what I heard, I think they're writing a unique original script that they're coming up with themselves. So
Okay.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what that looks like with that.
And we'll see who's gonna play you.
Yeah, nice. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Is there a set release date for that movie? You guys have any idea when it would be out?
Not that I know of. There was one set release date, but it's passed by now due to ongoing production. So, these type of things, a lot of times they'll replace people in certain positions or do whatever. But as far as I know, it's still, Eddie Murphy, all of that. The production team is still the same. I think that they came up with a new script or something like that that possibly pushed back production. But as far as I know, it's still everything's still on.
Yeah.
Cool. Looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. And I had another question. How do you organize yourself to do all this?
Time management.
Like you must have impeccable time management skills.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to say that COVID actually made me a better time manager. When
Really?
you and when the three of us talked the first time, we were I think in the throes of COVID, or maybe it
Yes.
was right before. Okay, so and in that time I had uh, evolved into this person with all this time. I went from a guy with literally no time, working for George, 280 to 320 days a year with,
Mhm.
with, with virtually no time on my hands and still managing to get a lot of stuff done, albeit in a little bit more haphazard way, still maintaining some kind of schedules. But then during COVID, I really regimented exactly what I do at each part of the day. And although it's not as regimented as it was during COVID, it is more regimented than most people. I wake up, I run, I practice, then I do my studio work, then I do my office work, then I get on the phone and do all my booking work, whether it's talking or emailing. Then after that, I have conference calls. Then after that, I do some more practicing. And if it's something like writing the book, I have to set aside hours for writing. Whether it's this book or the next one, or even just dealing with reviews and that kind of stuff, maintaining the book promotion schedule,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I tend to work deep into the night. I have to wake up early because I'm also a dad, and so like
Yeah.
I have to take these times. Okay, time to make dinner for the kids. Okay, time to, piano lessons. Okay, time to tuck them into bed or to hang out with them for a couple hours before they go to bed. And so like make the time for that as well, and then just really take advantage of every hour that they're sleeping as well to get as much extra work done, or when they're in school
Yeah.
to get all that extra work done. And I'm lucky to say, I have a wife that is so supportive and does all the things that we needed to do when I'm doing all this stuff, so it makes it super much easier. It's not easy, but easier,
Yeah.
but it's real strict every day. I don't really
Yeah.
have the time to kind of do the things that sometimes I would like to. Oh, it'd be nice to go to this place or do this. And every once in a while I have the time. But when it's like what we just dealt with, this time crunch with the due date, for the next book. Again, I beat the time crunch by leaps and bounds, but that's only because I was very, very disciplined in I didn't take a day off from typing that thing. The moment you do take a day off, the day off becomes two and then three, and I tend to have what you would call an addictive personality. So I'm either addicted to doing it or I'm addicted to not doing it.
Yeah.
And I
One
tend
or the other.
to yeah. So that's the only way that I can really get it done, is to map out my day in a very regimented manner and allow for that sort of compartmentalization.
And besides all this, I'm going to push it even further. Do you have any hobbies that are not musically related or something that you enjoy doing?
Well, you guys know I make the comic books.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're still doing Sons of the Sun. The fourth one came out. I don't know if we talked since the fourth one came out, but
I don't think
No, I
so.
don't think so.
Yeah, so we
Fill us in
have
on that.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's the fourth one. It's all about Astrid, which is like the goddess, and this one touches more on like not all, but it touches on a few of the goddesses,
Okay.
and it also has a few of the big gods too, Aramazd and Mer and people like that.
Anahit.
Yeah, Anahit is in it.
Yeah.
Nane is in it. And so it's really action packed, and it's definitely my favorite one yet. So I highly urge people if you're interested in action packed comics, or if you're interested in Armenian history, Armenian mythology, those are very much still ongoing, and I'm happy to say they're better than they've ever been before. So now we have the collection with all three of the first issues, and we have the fourth issue, the floppy of the fourth issue, and now we're working on three more issues right now that we're in the middle of production. So, I mean, hobby maybe not the right word, but I do collect comics as well, and
Okay.
if I could move my screen over just a little bit without unplugging it, you would see massive long boxes
Okay.
of Silver Age
Oh,
Fantastic Fours and
Oh,
incredible.
wow.
yeah,
Incredible.
all of that stuff, And the only other thing closest to a hobby, if you look on this side, I have a pretty massive Masters of the Universe toy collection that
Oh
goes
yeah.
all the way along this wall right here.
Oh boy.
And there's probably 180 or 190 figures in the box still. But, if it weren't for like hanging them on a wall, I wouldn't even be collecting these, because if I had to take them out and do something with them, there'd be no space. I mean, I have a big studio. This room is huge, but there's really no space for 190
Right.
action figures. So, and this is really just a callback to the 80s. I used to collect these even when I was like a baby. My parents bought me these things. So from like 81 to 87, this was my childhood.
Wow.
So my wife bought me one in the package, and I was like, why are you doing this? Because again, addictive personality, I'm going to want not all, but I'm going to want as many as I can get. And so it
Yeah.
turned into this, but it makes for a really cool backdrop in the studio, and it's like a fun story, and it's like wallpaper for me. Like if I had to put it anywhere else, it wouldn't be my collection, but because I can hang it on the wall, it's like a nice little hobby collection thing. Every once in a while I'll get one and put it up on the wall, and so yeah, those are probably, and then of course, because I'm a historian, history, is I don't know if a hobby is the right word, but reading about history is one of my favorite things. Armenian history,
So
Armenology, if
rich.
you will. Yes, so rich that my hobbies tend to be sometimes considered boring. Like I'll watch Armenian history lectures by historians for hours and hours, just listening to them talk. And my wife is just like, you historians, like, you guys just listen to people talk like for hours. I'm like, yeah, but it's so fascinating, So those are probably my biggest hobbies, but they all tie into the work that I do,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So
Cool.
I think we only have a couple minutes left on the clock. Did you have anything
sure,
to add, maybe for our audience, maybe where they could
yeah.
find your comic books, or about the book tour coming up?
So the newest book, Make My Funk the P-Funk, or the first book, the authorized P-Funk song reference, they are available. I have author editions that are inscribed, signed, and personalized. The new book is for 50, and the old book is for 60. And they can just get it. My Cash App is $Danny Bedrosian. My Venmo is at Daniel Bedrosian, and my PayPal is info@dannybedrosian.com. And so they could get it at any of those places. And then the newest comic book, Sons of the Sun, Armenian mythology, the Tales of Askik, with all this great history and mythology mixed in, those go for $20. And you can get them also on the PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. Or you can get the Ultimate Collection, which is the trade paperback, which has the first three issues and a bunch of back matter. That's for $40 from the same places. You can get it from all the same places. And then I always just recommend everybody with this new book, if you like it, if you've read it, please leave a review on Amazon or wherever you got it. I'm happy to say it's #1 in the R&B charts on Amazon for 7 days straight. Super happy about
Person.
that. Thank you. And it's been getting a lot of accolades. So all those reviews help massively. I would love those. And then, more importantly than that, I always highly recommend that people recommend it for their brick and mortar bookstores, for their local libraries, and for their college bookstores and libraries, so it can be added to those to that stuff.
Excellent. Wish we had more time to chat, Danny, but this was a pleasure as always.
Always.
Thank
And
you, Keyboard. Thank you, Rafi. I appreciate
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Danny.
very excited to see what you do next.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always good talking to you guys.
Yeah,
Same here.
likewise. Yeah,
Take care and good luck to you.
good luck.
Thank you so much. You guys too. We'll talk to you soon.
Very soon.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.